Senate Republicans hope to hold a final vote today on their tax overhaul, but they will have to overcome GOP concerns about the cost. President Trump tweeted this morning, "This is a once-in-a-generation chance." Obstructionist Dems trying to block. But it's actually worries from within his own party that are holding up this bill.
A report from the nonpartisan committee shows the plan will add $1 trillion to the country's deficit over the next decade. That is raising concern for some Republicans. The number 2 Senate Republican, John Cornyn of Texas, called the study's findings completely wrong.
At least 4 Republicans are still expressing concern about the bill. The GOP can only afford to lose support from 2 members. South Carolina's Lindsey Graham said yesterday failure is not an option. We need a tax cut.
Our chief Washington correspondent and anchor of Face the Nation, John Dickerson, is here at the table, live and in color. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, Gayle.
2 votes doesn't give them a lot of wiggle room. What options do they have to move it forward?
Well, they're trying to cook up some options. I mean, one of the extraordinary things about what's happening right now is they are flying the plane while they're trying to build it. They're trying to pass the legislation while they're writing it. And the problem is tax legislation is incredibly complex. The careening effects of tax changes on the deficit and the economy are complex. And so once you change something, it affects something over here. Nevertheless, they're trying to do this, get this voted, get it done by the end of the day. So it's a bit of a rush.
If you had to call the game right now, what would you say?
I don't call the game, Gayle, because
I said if you had to call the game, John Dickerson.
I don't know. I mean, there is extraordinary pressure to get this done, to get something done. And so I think when we've seen that kind of pressure act in the past, lawmakers find a way to get it done, and then they end up having to live with the results of things shot through in that kind of pressure environment.
But Republicans have dismissed these types of reports from nonpartisan groups, the CBO in particular, and other issues. When it came to health care, they're starting to do it now. So is it going to move the needle at all?
Well, it gives some pause to some senators. And even if the report from the Joint Committee on Taxation had not been as troublesome as this one was, Bob Corker and Jeff Flake, the 2 senators who are holding this up, senators from Tennessee and Arizona, have old-fashioned Republican fears about the debt and deficit. And if the theory of this case is that cut taxes to get economic growth going, their argument is, but we for a long time have argued that the debt and the deficit actually hurt growth as well. So you can't on the one hand try and help growth with this if on the other hand it's hurting growth by creating a larger debt and deficit. So this isn't crazy talk. This has been long-time Republican orthodoxy. And so in that sense, what the Joint Committee on Taxation said helps their case, but really isn't central to it. They're arguing something Republicans have argued for a long time.
And a bigger problem for them now that the trigger mechanism is not being allowed by Senate rules, correct?
Well, that's right. Trigger mechanisms, this idea that we'll basically change things in the future if it doesn't turn out to go forward the way the authors of this tax plan say, they're hard to craft because they can have downside effects on the economy. And then also, by the way, what happens is when you get to the trigger point, everybody says, oh, never mind, let's get past the trigger. Right. So it's very hard to create this kind of thing, and there are economic reasons you wouldn't want to create it anyway, which give opponents a substantive reason to be against what Corker and Flake are trying to do.
So, John, let me ask you about this. As you know, CBS News has learned that Chief of Staff John Kelly has seen a plan and approved the plan to replace the Secretary of State Rex Tillerson with the CIA Director Mike Pompeo. Is Tillerson dead man walking, and how difficult must it be to do his job?
Well, I'm trying to think back of an instance in which you've had a coordinated effort by an administration to say, here's your hat, what's your hurry? I mean, they are showing him the door publicly, which means, obviously it undermines him because the Secretary of State has to speak for the president. So obviously he is not speaking for the president because the entire rest of the administration, it seems, based on the way this has been coordinated, is saying he's not long for this job. So you've got to wonder then, okay, why not just get it over with? And it's extraordinary when you look back and think about one of the arguments for the president was that he came from the world of business. I don't think you would have this situation in the world of business where you just let a Secretary of State kind of twist in the wind like this. So if there's going to be a change, it probably needs to happen soon because real things are happening. The North Korea issue is heating up.
Yeah. But did he really have a chance after he called or reportedly called the president a moron? Did he really have a chance to succeed?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's obviously was not great, great for him. But one of the things this president has allowed, at least from his Secretary of Defense and others, is people with strong opinions to voice them. That, on the other hand, is part of where the clash has been between the president and his Secretary of State.
Yes, you voice them, and then the word embattled comes before your name. That's never a good sign. Thank you, John. Thank you very much. And Sunday on Face the Nation, John talks to Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, White House Budget Director Mick Mulvaney, and Independent Senator Angus King, no relation. That's Sunday right here on CBS. In case you were wondering.
Wasn't sure about that.
In case you're
Wondering.
a long-lost cousin Angus, right? Yeah.